Well, welcome back to X's and O's, and I'm Jeff Harrison with
Leslie Spoor.
Leslie. I know we're a day early, but you have something on your schedule that we said, hey, we don't want to miss a week. What's that all about?
I am going away tomorrow to Colorado for some business and couldn't be here.
Personal trip. Okay, cool.
It sounded better to say this.
Well, you know, we were talking last week, and if this is the first time you're joining us on the show, it's really all about, hey, how can you as a local business, how can you be more successful? And we're honored and blessed to be here with Leslie because she is a business owner, actually a 3-time business owner simultaneously. So if you need to know, A, how to get things done, how to do things right the first time, because she's done it 3 times, maybe wrong, to get it right the first time, the next time. This is the gal. So with that, I get to ask the questions, and then she has to come up with the answers. Sometimes I participate. So anyway, so here's the question, Leslie.
Okay.
Whenever we're, you know, in our last episode, we talked about identifying our ideal target and knowing who that audience is. How important is it to make sure that we speak the right language with that client?
Oh, it's very important. You have to learn how to read the client in front of you. And you also, again, we talked about identifying the perfect demographic for your products and services. So once you identify that demographic, you need to make sure that all your marketing materials, the message that you create, speaks to that particular demographic. Extremely important.
So when that happens, let's talk about that for a second. So as an example, let's say, for instance, I sell a certain product or service here in the Coachella Valley. And my ideal target market is, let's say they're men between ages 30 and 35.
Okay.
What should if I do a lot of print or video advertising, what do I need to make sure to portray in that print and video advertising?
I was going to say bikinis, but I don't think that's the right.
That's what I've been doing. I thought it was, okay.
But you know, you want to appeal to that particular demographic either through, it depends on your product really, but you want to find a way to communicate to them that speaks their particular language. For example, and see, I deal with a much older demographic, so my brain wants to think that way. But if there is a particular, if you have a product that, for example, if you're selling coffee, just as an example, you want to promote that in a way that shows a social media available interactive atmosphere for coffee, right? Because that's where people in that age group typically go. They congregate at the coffee shops and are online and doing all kinds of social media. So you'd want to focus in that area to reach that particular audience.
Okay, so like in our space, we do digital marketing, and so we call it friction. In other words, if our message doesn't really match and speak the language of our ideal audience, we're creating friction. By this, what I mean is, let's say, for instance, you know, let's say I sell pantyhose, okay? And so I want to make sure to put someone who wears pantyhose normally in the ad. So I would probably have a female in the ad. But if I put male in the ads in my print, I'm creating friction.
Well,
and so it starts to already make that a difficult hill to climb.
I would agree with you.
Unless it's Joe Namath, for those
exactly.
of you still
I was going
around.
to say there are some instances where going opposite of what logic dictates will help you because of the shock value or because of the surprise effect, right? So sometimes going the opposite of what's expected is a good approach as well.
Okay.
So
should that be like your first move?
No, I wouldn't. Again, it really depends on the product or service. For example, I use this example quite frequently. We live in an area out here where the demographic tends to run older. So, and our perfect client is an upper end baby boomer. So if I'm doing a business card or a print ad of some sort, I definitely want to make sure the font is something that we can read without glasses, because I know I can't see anything without my glasses on, and I'm in that same age demographic, right?
Gotcha.
So you want to consider who's going to buy from you and what their typical buying habits are and any specific challenges that might present themselves when you're trying to reach that market.
So would you suggest or even recommend those watching either live or in the future, and they're a business owner, to really say, hey, who is my demographic, who's
Right.
my ideal target market, and then start looking at their even, let's say they're a shop owner, their displays, their cards, all their print ads, what they're doing in any media platform, and see if it really speaks directly to, and if it's congruent to them. As an example, let's say for instance somebody, they're born in 2000, would you try to attract them because of a song playing that you have music background out of the 40s?
No, you wouldn't.
All right.
You have to have something that people can identify and relate to. And along that same line, when you're creating your marketing collateral, whether that's business cards or flyers or brochures or whatever you're creating, I'm a big advocate for truth in advertising, for one, and two, for doing the highest quality products that you can afford at this point in your business. The better quality the marketing collateral is, the better perception of value for your business.
That's something I've always noticed about your product.
Yeah.
Always high end.
It always has been, even from the very beginning. In fact, it was so high end that I've had when I was first promoting the business, people would ask me, "Is this a franchise?" Because it looked like a franchise. But again, I come from a corporate background, so I do everything extremely corporate minded. But still, you want to have a high quality product, and that varies depending on the business you're in and what you can afford getting started. I mean, certainly I wouldn't suggest that you should go in debt in order to create marketing collateral. But on the other hand, if you have limited resources, you want to put them in your business card and your brochure. That's the two most important places, because that's your face of your business when you're not there, right? When you hand those out, that's what people are going to see and remember you by. So you want those to be good quality. And along that same line, we're talking about truth in advertising, you absolutely want to make sure that whatever you present on these cards or brochures is accurate for your business.
Like, what do you mean by that?
Well, I was doing a presentation for one. Oops, I knocked down an X. My apologies.
I've got one on it.
I was doing a marketing seminar online, in person actually, to a group of real estate agents, and one of them asked me, "How do you feel about putting a current photo on your business card? Should you put a photo or not? And B, does it matter if it's how old it is?" And I said, well, I think putting a photo on your business card, whatever business you're in, is always helpful, or on your website or somewhere, because people relate better, and you begin that start of a relationship when they can see who you are. So it's important for people to see you. But as far as the age of that photo goes, it needs to be as current as possible, because what happens is, whether it's conscious or subconscious, if you put a photo of yourself on anything that's 10 or 15 or
It's my high school photo.
30 years old,
Okay.
right? If you put a photo out that's not representative of who you are today, people think that you're trying to bait and switch them, right? They think, and then that, again, it could be all subconscious, but then it starts, your credibility suffers, and whether or not they can trust you suffers.
Good point.
So you want to make sure, I know that we all have vanity and we all think that we look better before, right? When we took that picture 10 years ago, we didn't like it. Nobody
Cameras
liked
weren't as
it.
good. Cameras weren't as good.
We didn't like it, but now 10 years later, we're looking at it going, well, that's pretty good, actually. So you want to make sure that you put something that represents who you are. If you are uncomfortable with your photo, then don't use it at all. Better not to use it than to misrepresent who you are.
So it sounds like some of this you're talking about, really almost all of this, is so much of this is subliminal, that's really selling when you're not even there.
Correct. That's correct.
And that's really kind of priming the pump or causing, let's say, your ideal client to take action because of how you present yourself.
Right. When you're a small business owner, typically, and remember we talked about this one before, you're a one bucket shop, right?
Yeah.
There's just you, and you're wearing a lot of hats, and you're trying to do a lot of work. And most people who start their business don't start out hiring people, right? I'm an exception to that. I hired somebody to work with me as soon as I got one client, and we can talk about that in another segment about why I did that and the benefits and drawbacks to doing that. But most people go out and they start doing the work themselves, and they meet with people. They're doing all their own marketing, they're networking, they're going to networking events, they're doing all this work. And so you need a product to hand out that will help you organically grow your business and your brand, right?
Gotcha.
And that's your business card and your brochure. Without those, there's nothing for people to remember who you are.
Yeah.
right? Unless you want to invest in, billboards and all kinds of print advertising, but most of small business owners cannot afford to do that.
Yeah.
Even here in the desert, it's especially bad here in the desert and I've actually emailed some of the big advertisers and said, why don't you come up with a program for small business owners? This desert is rife with, entrepreneurs and people who are building this desert off the sweat of their back, but they can't afford to advertise. And I think the big advertisers are missing out on a whole entire market.
Yeah.
Because we would like to advertise, but we can't do $3,000 and $4,000 and $5,000 for one print ad, right? Or we don't want to.
Pretty
right?
tough, yeah.
Well, it's pretty tough for everybody except the really big companies. So, I think that there's opportunity for a small business owner to make a big impact without a lot of money, to help bring people in, to make their cash registers ring, as we've talked in the past, right?
Yeah.
By a good, solid business card. And don't forget to utilize the back of that. We should have a whole session on just business cards, but business cards and brochures and having, and then speaking and writing. We talked about that last time too, about offering to speak to people and offering to write articles for people to get your name out there.
Yeah.
You can write about anything. One year I wrote about the entire history of Valentine's Day. Has nothing to do with any of my businesses, right?
You're right, yeah.
Right, but at the bottom was a bio for me and my business. So something about Valentine's Day, well, not if it's printed in October, but if you print it in January or February, people find interest in that and want to understand the history of Valentine's Day, and they'll read it, and then they'll see your bio at the bottom. So you're getting free advertising, and there's no better advertising than that, right?
Yeah.
So.
Well, when you say that, it reminds me of something I heard today. And if you watching are familiar with a guy named Gary Vaynerchuk, he's on every day on media, on social media, videos. He's got a podcast. He's got all kinds of stuff.
Right.
But here's where I think so many people are being drawn into, hey, every time I put something out, it's got to be value, right? Instead of saying, what if you just put yourself out there from a standpoint of, let me share my experience, and if there's something you glean from that is, like you said, there's the article you wrote about Valentine's Day.
Right.
And number one rule is when you create something is make it entertaining.
Exactly.
If it's not entertaining, you're not going to get a chance to educate or engage. So I think that's wonderful. Think about that. If you wrote one every day, I mean, once a month, there's probably some kind of holiday or some kind of event you can probably talk about. I think that's brilliant.
Right.
Well, I think we've probably got to the point where we said we could talk about a lot of things for a long time, but the biggest thing today was making sure you speak the language of your ideal client.
Right, and that's finding what works for that group. And that can be a trial and error kind of a thing also. When you're first starting out, you may not know, but you'll learn it over time. So there's nothing wrong with throwing something against the wall and see what sticks, right?
Yeah.
Just go ahead and do it. Don't hold back. Don't get analysis paralysis. A lot of people get that. That's what happens when you first start your business and you spend so much time thinking about, should I do this? Should I do that? Well, what about this? And looking at all the pros and cons that you don't make a decision. Just do it. It doesn't matter if it's right or it's wrong. It's more important to just go for it, and you'll learn over time what really works for you.
Yeah. So get in the game. Make sure you're working your X's and your O's. And now next week, are you going to be back next Wednesday?
I think so.
Okay.
Yes.
If not,
oh yeah, next Wednesday I'm here.
Okay, so
we'll
be back. We'll be back next Wednesday on normal time. Next Wednesday. You have a safe trip, and if you have any questions, please put your questions in the comment. And Leslie, even though she's on the trip, are you driving or are you riding?
I'm riding, and I have my laptop and my iPad.
She's never off.
I'm mobile. Yeah, I'm a 24/7 kind of girl. Yeah. So I'm here for anybody who, I really want to help other businesses be successful. That's the whole point of doing this, right, is to get the word out about how to be successful. And that's the purpose of the consulting company, Concierge Business Solutions, is to be able to help people, even if it's just to give you a sounding board for somebody to listen.
Do you, now, how would somebody get in touch with you, Leslie, if they wanted to, said, hey, I like what she said, it resonates with me, I'd love to have somebody who really is my coach. How would they get a hold of you?
Well, on my website, conciergebusinesssolutions.com, there is a contact us form on there, or you can actually buy consulting time right online.
Okay.
All our products and services are available online, so you can go right on there and just select what you want, and then I will contact you immediately, and we'll work out a program that benefits you. My favorite thing for consulting is to get the business owner to provide a list of questions before we sit down the first time, because I want to make sure that everybody gets the most value for their investment. That's the most important thing. So if you give me a list of questions, then I can make absolutely certain that the things that are important to you get answered. Because once we start talking, we veer off in all kinds of directions, and this answer prompts another question, and it can get crazy, which is good. That's what you want. But the important thing is to make sure that the business owner gets exactly what they need so that they get the most value.
Cool. So you need to go to her website, which is conciergebusinesssolutions.com, and then go to the contact page.
Contact us page.
Yep. And then you can get right to Leslie. Well, Leslie, thank you again so much. And really, thank you so much for coming in and doing this, because I know you're probably either packing or now loading the car. And have a great trip to Colorado. What part of Colorado are you going to?
Denver.
Well, they have a flight that leaves every morning going to Denver. It's a lot. It's only 2 hours.
I know, but we're driving up, then I fly back, then I fly back up there, then I drive back. I'm going twice in 2 weeks.
I'm not sure I followed that, but have a safe trip. And again, Leslie, thank you so much. And thanks for joining us on X's and O's.
Thank you, guys.